Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. This is Julie Bruns, and you are about to be inspired. I am so excited to share my conversations with amazing people from all walks of life who figured out how to be happy, peaceful, and content doing work they love and making the world a better place so that you can see what's possible for your life. I can't wait to hear what you think. Send me an email and let me know one thing you're taking away from this episode. And never forget, anything really is possible. Hello, everyone. My guest this week is Jason Harvin. And Jason and I are talking today for the first time. I saw your art, Jason, on a TV show. So on the weekends, I watch HGTV. I love it. And I watch basically shows about people decorating and designing. And I can't get enough of it. I love doing that. It's a hobby of mine. And it's called 100. Oh my God, 100 Days to Your Dream Home, or what's the title of the show?
100 Day Dream Home. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
yeah.
100 Day Dream Home. I wanted to get it right with Mika and Brian in the Tampa Bay area. And why that's meaningful to me is because we used to, our kids, when we were growing up, we used to go visit my in-laws in St. Petersburg and Claremont, Florida over the years, like over a good 10, 12-year period. And so we'd go to St. Pete Beach and St. Petersburg a lot because they had a condo on that side of the Gulf, and then they had one. Then they lived over by Disney World, anyways. And so when I love that they're from there, and that's where they do all their work. But then one day they were walking down the street, and they see you doing this mural on the street on this big wall, and then they ask you about it, and then you end up doing a mural or a picture for one of their clients for one of their homes. Is that right?
Yeah, painted a little commission for one of their homes. Yeah.
So cool. It was so cool. So I was like, I said to my husband, I said, I'm going to check out this guy's work, and I'm going to see if he wants to come on my podcast and talk about what he does. It was really cool what you were doing on the mural. And I just thought, that's why I love to talk to people that I love what they're doing. And I could tell how excited you were to talk to them. And so that's why you're here today. So welcome.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So, all right, tell people what you do. So you tell people exactly what you do. And did you always see yourself with this hobby / career, and how did it come about?
Yeah. So I run a paint. I guess it's a paint business, a paint company. But really, it's if the focus is on like accent walls, feature walls, design walls, more interior decorating sort of style. And it really, weirdly, it a couple of years ago, it started as just a kind of a hobby, paint a wall around my house, paint another wall around the house, and the neighbors would kind of see it, and they're like, oh, this is kind of fun. Can you do this for me? And one neighbor leads to another neighbor leads to another neighbor. I think I'm in, 6, 7, 8 homes in my neighborhood at this point in time. And eventually it just got to the point where I was like, I might as well turn this into something, just a small little side hustle. I used to call it my side hustle for quite some time. I don't formally come from a painting background or anything like that. My previous career was more in, I guess I'd call it hospitality IT. It was the management of projects, IT related projects for hotel openings, so hotel software and whatnot. So that was primarily my career up until, a couple of years ago. And then the painting just slowly took over, and I finally went full time with it earlier this year. And it's been a roller coaster, to be honest with you, because no, I did not envision myself being I guess a painter or even an artist. I painted for almost 2 years before I even considered myself an artist. So even that's still kind of new to me, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. So were you like a creative kid growing up? Did you always have this creative side?
It's strange. I look back on it a lot now, and my mother for a small amount of time was an art teacher, just a very, very small amount of time. And but my parents were always pushing us to be creative. They always pushed us to be, me and my sister always pushed us to learn new things, be as curious as possible. I mean, we grew up and did literally everything from playing the drums. I played the saxophone for a while, was in jazz band, and played the piano for a tiny bit. They were always encouraging us to be active, be open, be curious. We were never big, I guess, formal artists in the house. There wasn't a lot of painting going on. It was more in other forms. Me and my sister both like to take good pictures. We like to take nice photography. And then it just, I guess the painting just kind of grew out of its own little thing. But yeah, my parents, and just a little background there, my parents, my father was in the military and my mom worked for the government as well. And we grew up in Germany. So I was a military brat growing up in Germany. And so my parents definitely, they come from, I guess you can call it a blue collar, or I guess in the military, what, a green collar or whatever you want to say. We come from that kind of background. So being a creative as a job was never, ever, ever pushed or encouraged. It was really take the safe route. We're going to go to college, get good grades, go to college, get the good job, work at said job for X amount of years, retire with the white picket fence. You know, that was really the life. Like growing up, that was kind of the vision I had for my life, was I was just going to kind of play the game and, you know, live in the rat race and just kind of keep going and doing my thing. But I want to say about 7 to 8 years into my 13-year corporate career, something was just like, I need something else, right? And the painting kind of came. I didn't realize what the painting was doing until it kind of fully took over, and I realized, oh, this is what I really needed. And so it was just kind of the corporate career. After doing it for almost 7, 8 years, you realize you're like, I want something else. Is this really it for me in my life? Like, am I going to be, you know, relegated to this for forever, or will I have another opportunity to do other things, or to try other things and whatnot? And then the painting just gave me the opportunity to kind of branch out on my own and see where I can take that. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had, I think originally when I reached out, I thought you were still doing both your regular job and then this like side hustle. That's so cool that you're able to do it full time now. And I'm sure in looking back with your corporate career, you're like so glad you made the jump and made the leap into this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, you know, just in March of this year was when I finally made the full jump. And it was what ended up happening, Julia. I feel like I spent all of 2021, like burning both ends of the candle. I would get up super early to my corporate job was more project based. So I as long as I got my work done, there wasn't really a set amount of hours I needed to be sitting at my desk. So I would get up super early in the morning and then work till midday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then rush to a paint job and then work that till 7, 8 at night, and then do it all over again. And I ended up doing that for almost an entire year, I felt like, and it was just, it became a little exhausting. I wasn't giving the time I needed to Vera, my fiance. I wasn't giving the time I needed to myself, you know, the rest that I needed or whatnot. And so finally in March of this year, or I guess probably in January, we kind of had it, the plan, this is what was going to happen, but really just needed to kind of dot the last couple of I's, cross the last couple of T's. But I would not change it for anything. It's been the best decision to be able to work for yourself. It's something I don't take for granted. I recognize that most folks do not have the opportunity, and not for lack of effort or whatnot, but maybe just ideas or knowing what they really want to get into. You know, being able to take a hobby and turn it into a money generator can be difficult at times. And it just, I guess for my painting, it just slowly I guess kind of worked out. I slowly started to figure out the money thing as the painting grew. And I just slowly started to figure out, I might be able to survive off of this, you know, and instead of a little bit of side money, maybe if I could make this my main, you know, my main thing. So around January, I was finally like, I continue to give half of my time to each corporate and my painting, and I'm not giving them either what they deserve, right?
Right.
What do I need to give my full time to? What do I want to give my full time to? And I knew it was the painting at that point. So, you know, spent a couple of months wrapping up a long career at my past job and planning things for the future, making sure the painting could suffice and I could survive off of it. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. It's another great story of, you know, taking it slow and not, you know, taking, like, kind of, it sounds like you were taking calculated risks and seeing what you could do. Burning the candle both ends is never good. And like you said, I was kind of exhausted. Of course you were exhausted, like when you're doing that, but it takes a little bit of, it always usually takes a little bit of that to figure out what you're really liking. And you have to do it long enough to know that this is not sustainable. This is not healthy. What do I need to give or take for it to continue on the way I want to continue? So there's slow. People often joke about, when you hear about an actor or singer that seems to like make it come out of nowhere and like an overnight success, just like any business, any side hustle, there's never an overnight. There's usually years and years and years of something going on behind the scenes, or for you painting over the years, but it was being creative in another way, and then slowly realizing you needed to take a break or have a little side distraction, and then it turns out to be this painting that ends up being your full-time job a couple of years later. It's never all at once. It's never overnight. No. And you always have to make sacrifices and take risks, and it's just a little by little. I think patience is the key for a lot of people that say, okay, well, I have this thing and I want to see. Eventually, you have to make the leap, but you're not making the leap blind, and you're not making the leap after making all these other considerations and thinking about how it might work and how it can work, how it could work, or whatever. But I'm also reminded when you said, you consider yourself, I don't know if you use the word blessed or, lucky to have the opportunity. I don't like people to sell themselves short. So it's like almost like you got lucky that you worked really hard. You got lucky that you
absolutely for sure,
right? Like
for sure.
It's because you worked hard. It's because you had an idea. It's because you took some risks and made some sacrifice. And it's not like a lot of people will say, well, I can't do that. I have bills to pay. Who doesn't have bills to pay? I can't do that. I have a family. Who doesn't have a family? Yeah. Even if you don't have kids, everyone has responsibilities and things that they need to pay for. Everyone needs to eat and live and pay rent or mortgage or whatever. So there's always something. And I feel like if you end up using any little excuse or big excuse to not go after what you want to go for, it ends up being exactly that, an excuse. Oh, you're just never going to have what you want. You can make all the excuses, but you're not going to have what you want. So it's up to you. What do you want to sacrifice?
You got it. And toward the end, it ended up being that it was the littlest excuses that was making me, that were delaying me from finally, jumping off ship and just kind of floating on my own or whatnot. I likened it to I had this weird metaphor of likening it to your corporate career is like a comfortable, easy life. You get on the cruise ship with everybody else, it's smooth seas. Mm-hmm. And getting off and doing your own thing might be likened to I'm jumping off the big cruise ship into my tiny little raft, and I'm going to try to make it work on my raft, but I'm going to feel all the waves as opposed to being on the nice smooth cruise ship. So I used to liken it to that for some reason, but no, I do appreciate you bringing that up, because I do try to stay humble about it. And so I use terms like, lucky enough and thankful and whatnot, but you're 100% correct. It was a few years of a lot of hard work, a lot of thinking, a lot of debating, and just taking the risk, ultimately just taking the risk. It was, and it continues to pay off in many, many ways. And it's just, I couldn't be happier being able to spend my time doing something that I enjoy and that I love doing. As I get older, the value of time becomes more important. Mm-hmm. And, growing up, I always heard it from my father and my parents and, people, mentors and just folks coming along the way is, your time is your most valuable asset. I didn't understand that at 19, 20 years old. At 35, I completely understand what that means and the value of the time. And it was really, in the end, was like how I can no longer give my time to something where I will not personally benefit from it, or maybe not personally benefit from it, but give my time to something where I'm not going to be able to reap any rewards from it or something that I enjoy, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, I work with people that I want to work with. I don't have to work with people that I don't want to work with. And even outside of that, right? I will still work with anybody, but it's, you get where.
Yeah, you get to make the choices. There's no one telling you call this person, see what that will do, whatever. It's like, no, you can see how it feels. You can decide, I'm getting a weird thing about this. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to, and then usually something else will come and fill that void or that whatever slot or whatever it is. It's like, no, you get to make the decisions. A lot of that, having that autonomy and that flexibility is very, very, I was going to say rewarding, but it's very cool. It's like, okay, I can do that. It's a great feeling. And the nice thing is when you do that and you end up going towards the things you're drawn to, and saying no to the things that don't feel right, you end up getting more of the good stuff because you're turning away from the bad stuff, and then it ends up just magnifying, which is a great life lesson, and definitely a spiritual lesson that not everyone can grasp when they're younger. But when you look back at, now that you've taken the sacrifices, you've taken the risks, made the sacrifices, taken the risk, and now you can see it's a lot easier to back. Oh, I see what people are talking about. As I'm getting older, how do I want to spend my time? My time's valuable, my energy's valuable. What I want to give back, and how can I do that in the most pleasing way so I can have a good life? I was telling someone the other day, it's not, if it really were all just about making money, nothing else would ever affect you, and everything affects you, your mental health, good and bad. And if you just make decisions based on money or what's going to be best for you, material wise, it's never going to be the right thing for the rest of your life. And you'll soon find out as you age that all of a sudden you'll be like, why am I having this problem? Why is my health this? Why is it? Oh, because of all those other things I'm doing that I thought were never going to catch up with me. They catch up with you. It's just a matter of how they catch up with you. And it could be really detrimental. It could be, it could be life-changing the way it catches up with you sometimes. So that's why I have this podcast, to show people like it is possible. You can be an artist, you can be a business person, you can have a full-time job, a part-time job, a side hustle, it doesn't matter. There are people doing it every day in all different kinds of ways and in all different realms. And you're living proof, which is why I wanted to talk to you. So I have a question about about Mika and Brian. When were they really just walking by and saw you painting?
Yes, the way it played out on TV was exactly how it happened.
Oh
They were around downtown filming a couple of random segments, just kind of, just scoping out the city and just viewing some things.
Yeah.
But they happened, the way they put it is they were like, we saw a lift around the side of a building,
Okay.
and we were about to be done for the day, but we were like, let's go around the corner and just take a look and see what they might be doing. The Shine Mural Festival, it's a yearly festival in St. Petersburg. It's a mural festival. You've got tons of folks that travel around the country, and they basically do mural tours throughout that week. So throughout that week, they generally have 15 to 20 artists doing random murals throughout the city. And I happen to get I happen to be one of the artists that was chosen for one of the murals last year. And so we were just painting, my fiance and I, and they came around the corner. And by that point in the week, a couple of you're bombarded with visitors all day. They're coming by asking questions. What are you doing? How did you get into this? Yada yada. And a couple of news interviews here and there. And so when they came around the corner, I didn't watch the show before they had come around. We used to watch a ton of HGTV, and then it's weird, when I wasn't a homeowner, would watch tons of HGTV. Once I became a homeowner, it was just like, now I can actually do these things.
Yeah, you don't have time to watch it. You have to do it. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It kind of flip-flopped. So when they came on television was around the time that we bought a home. And I guess by the time they got to the end of last season. But yeah, anyway, so they came around the corner. So I see them I'm up on the lift, and I look down and I kind of see them, and they're like, hey, you have some time to, talk. We really like what you do. And I could see them pointing, and they've got a camera crew with them. And it was a small crew of folks. I assumed it was, maybe another news crew or something, local news or something like that. And I came down and just started chatting with them. They told me who they were. And they were like, we've been looking around at some murals today, and we really like what you do. And I guess my I call it geometric abstraction. Just clean lines, clean shapes, geometric style work, but just in an abstract manner. They were like, we really like what you're doing here. And the black and the white, I use a lot of black and white in my artwork. And it tied in with the home that they were building for Miguel and Abe. And Miguel used to be he was a radio host down here on one of the local radio stations. And so we came down off the lift, started talking to him a little bit. Next thing you know, I've got their information for their producer, Stephanie, and we were just chatting. And they gave me a couple of months to create a painting for them. So I was commissioned to just do a piece of artwork for the home. And it turned out to be beautiful. It fit right in with what they were doing in the end. And it was a great experience. I never anticipated anything like that. It was never anything that was planned. They literally walked around the corner.
Awesome.
And the conversation just kind of sparked from there. And it was, a beautiful opportunity for sure.
I love that. I love that I'm the same way. My husband and I were walking around, and, like we've always wondered where that door goes, or we never walked down this block before, or let's walk down that block and see. And then you run into someone, or you see a sign for a restaurant you never saw before, or whatever, even though you might have walked by that area a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah.
I just love that they were like, let's just see what's on that lift over there. I mean, that could have been someone just painting, fixing a gutter on the building, or going up to the
somebody
roof,
fixing a light, or
they didn't know what
yeah.
they were going to see. And
Right.
I love that. And there you were. It's all about timing. And that's, to me, that's divine timing. Like, what are the odds with all that activity going on that day that they went down that street or whatever? It's crazy. And that's awesome. And I hope that's really cool story. And you just never know. You just never know. You never know who's around the corner, literally.
Yeah,
cool story,
absolutely. That one tiny decision, helped helped alter the trajectory of my business and where I want to take it and where I want to go with it. So, and they were beautiful to work with, their whole team and everything. It was a great experience. I really had a good time.
That's awesome. I love that story. It's so cool. Okay, I have a couple final questions for you. What's one thing, is there anything you wish you'd learned earlier in your life or career?
Julie, that's a great question. Yes. Trusting my instinct, and also taking the necessary time to focus on yourself, and not in a selfish way, but in growing up, I tend to be an extrovert, and growing up, I was always the one. I needed to be around friends all the time. 100% of my day was spent around friends and people, and you get to a point where you realize you're like, I've never spent time alone trying to like align myself or just try to figure out who I am as a person. I am a small collective of everybody that I've been spending my time with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I would, to keep it short and simple, is please take the time to focus on yourself and what's important to you, who's important to you in your life, what's important to you in your life, what you want to accomplish with your life. These are questions that had I asked myself these things at 19, who knows where I would be today, right? But really, don't just ride the wave of life and just kind of take things where they want to take you. Really be focused on making those conscious decisions. If this is what you want to do and this is who you want to be, make sure you focus on that, make a plan to actually accomplish these things, and don't look backwards. You're going to run into roadblocks. It's going to be tough at times, but never get to a point where you're going to stop and you're going to, it's going to, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to stop you from getting to where you want to be, I guess.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you are, I agree. I don't think we are taught, I'm older than you, but I mean, I was taught it's like, just go work hard and then everything else will fall into place and you'll have what you need. It's like, instead of like asking yourself all these questions, it's like, well, you were told, here are the questions. The questions are, what are you going to do with your life? Where are you going to go to school?
You got it, yeah.
And, how are you going to support yourself for the rest of your life? It wasn't like, once in a while, someone in high school would say, what are some of your strengths, or what do you really want to do? I want to help people. Like I remember saying that, like, that's so broad, that's so general.
Yeah.
And there's people around you waiting to help you ask the right questions and help you think about that. But if you're always surrounding yourself with people and just I'm an extrovert too. I love being around good people. But sometimes you need to be alone with yourself to figure out, to read, to consider, to what's the word, to be introspective, just to kind of jot things down or whatever. And then that's what you use your friends for, your significant other. Go back and say, I was thinking about this today, or I had a thought, or it never occurred to me before. But you can't do any of that if you're just constantly bombarded with conversations and talking to people and getting feedback and sharing feedback. You need to have the alone time so that you can process everything. And I that's something probably I wish I would have learned earlier too, to be more introspective. And I think trust yourself for sure, because like you said, trust your instincts and know what you want, but you can't know what your instincts are until you're quiet. You
got it. Until there's no noise around. Until there's no noise around. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would also say, be curious. Never be afraid of being curious. Never be afraid of learning. Keep learning. School tends to be, school is a small portion of our lives. You will never stop learning, right? continuously learn. I try, one of the things that I try to take out of every single job, and it's funny, it was one of the questions that I saw in your questionnaire is, what's one thing that you'll take away from today's conversation? And what I told myself, this was years ago before I even turned it into a real business, was after every paint job, I want to learn something to take to the next one.
Mm.
And here I am 2.5 years, 3 years later, every single job, I still find something that I can learn to move forward. It helps in the next one. It helps just kind of put it in the memory bank of like, okay, that's right. You don't want to do this here. You want to try that there. Be curious, never be afraid of trying new things, always be willing to learn.
I love that. I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm a big, very curious person. I always have been since I was a young child. That's why I have a book. It's called Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective. But one of the chapters is on curiosity, because I think it's so underrated. And when we stomp it out of kids too early, in my opinion, it's like, stop asking questions. That's what it's like. No. Like, they're asking because they're thinking, and they're trying to process, and they're trying to figure it out. And you tell them to stop asking questions just because you're annoyed, or you don't have the time, or you're too busy, or whatever. It's like you're stunting their growth. And then you're saying to them that what they have to say or think about it's so damaging. And if you can just nurture that, like, sounds like your parents were really good about that. It's one of the first things you said, that they encourage you to be curious. It's such an underrated skill, and it's such an easy thing to do as a parent and as a teacher and as a leader, to ask questions. Like, what do you think? Because people are like, you do know what you think. Because I don't know. Yeah, you do. You're just afraid to say it, or you don't have the clarity about how to say it. But you know, like, what's the feeling? I don't think we encourage kids enough, or adults for that matter, to do it.
I agree. I feel like taming curiosity is what ends up putting us in boxes in certain areas in life, right? And then we find ourselves in those boxes, and I'm totally guilty of it myself. And then you never leave said box, because this is just kind of what I believe, right?
Yeah.
We have to break down those boxes. We have to just kind of just be open and never stop learning. Be curious. Never be afraid to learn new things. If something that you were taught growing up, something that was ingrained in you even deeply, and you learn later on in life that that's not the truth, or there might be some more nuance to that, be open to changing your worldview on that, as opposed to just being, hard-headed and stuck in your box, right?
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Be open to growth, and it's all growth in the end, right? It's
yes.
That's really what it's about.
It is all growth in the end. You're right. Okay, so let's hear what you have to say about that final question. So I like to ask it at the end, because I want to know, you may have thought one thing before our conversation started, but now that we've spoken for almost half an hour, what's one new thought or insight or feeling that you're taking away from our conversation today?
That more people need to hear what we were literally just talking about. More people need to hear conversations like this, to spark the interest in them into, what, I've always been really great at knitting or whatnot. Maybe I can open up an Etsy page and start selling something small, right? I feel like more people need to hear conversations like this to help propel them forward. Like you were just mentioning, somebody might ask a question, and you'll be hesitant to answer. You know the answer, but you're afraid of maybe coming off the wrong way for somebody or something like that. By being able to, I lost my train of thought. By being able to hear other people have conversations and have them kind of help lay a tiny bit of a roadmap. I don't want to call it a roadmap, but at least begin to clear a little bit of the forest, so you can start to see some light at the end of your own tunnel and say, I can actually go forward with this. I can do this myself. I can do this, I can take this on, and it's all incremental, right? It's like, I think more people, just to keep it simple, more people need to hear conversations like this to help them realize that they might feel stuck today. They don't need to feel stuck tomorrow. There's something out there for everybody. We're all good at something outside of our job, right?
Yeah.
But we generally just relegate them to hobbies. These are just hobbies. Yeah. This is what I do for fun, If it's something that you really, really enjoy doing, and you can foresee, a future doing it, or there might be a market for it, really take the time, do your due diligence, put in the hard work. It's not going to be easy. Put in the hard work, but just
I love that. I love that you said, it's a spark, and that's why I do this. Like, I'm going to remember 2 or 3 things. I take notes during the conversations, but there's going to be something I remember different from what you remember in this conversation. One word, one phrase. It's going to be different for every single person that listens to this. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, I heard this, in 20 or 30 minutes. Or today you're going to hear it and it's the very thing you needed to hear because you were asking somebody last night about this question or talking to your spouse about it or whatever. That's what I love about it. You just never know what it's going to be. And it might be one thing today, and then you re-listen to it in a couple months. You're like, I forgot I said that. Julie asked me that question and I forgot that. I'm gonna do that thing I talked about, whatever it is. But you just never know on a given day what you're going to be open to hearing and feeling and sensing based on that conversation. So that's why I do it, and that's why I love interviewing people like you. And it was really fun talking to you. I'm excited I want to follow you and see some of your work. I know you have a website, so if people want to get in touch with you or work with you, let them know how they can do that. And if they want to just see the work that you do, you take pictures and put them on your site.
Yeah. So the website is just waywardwalls.com. I'm on most social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, mostly active on Instagram, I'd say.
Okay.
But yeah, and on the website or my Instagram or Facebook links, there's links to reach out for quotes or just for conversations on if folks are interested in painting. I paint quite a bit of everything if they're looking for it. But yeah.
That's so
One last thing I would like to add in the taking care of yourself and just in the taking care of yourself space. Never be afraid of. I know this conversation it's kind of been taboo for previous generations. Therapy was a big help in my life. When I finally gave in and realized I can't do it myself, I need to hear and express. I need to express this to other folks and kind of get their feedback and see how I take myself. Therapy. That's the last thing I would leave you with. But yeah, waywardwalls.com or just Wayward Walls on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or whatnot. And it's been an absolute pleasure. I really thank you for your time.
I'm glad you shared that about therapy. I agree. I think it's way more in everyone's faces now with the pandemic and everything. And I think it's a good thing, mental health,
Absolutely.
Awareness. But I think that it's not. If it's been taboo, I've never met anyone who went to therapy and like I feel worse. No, it's like this helped me in this regard. You never know what you're going to get out of it. And you're always going to feel better. You're going to learn something new about yourself, which is like you said, it's always about growth and having growth and growing and learning. And you're just going to learn something new to help yourself with other people. It's getting someone's perspective that's not related to you and not your friend, and someone who actually went to school to help you figure out your brain and how all these things affect you. It's like, it's good. It's good stuff. Absolutely. And it's only, I say, do it earlier, sooner rather than later, so that you can enjoy your life for longer. If you wait too long to do it and you only have 10 or 20 years left, like you could have been feeling better so much earlier. So I'm glad you brought that up. So thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So glad to be met. And I'm excited to follow your work and see all the cool stuff you create.
Definitely. And I'll definitely look at getting your Peace Possibilities and is it the Peace and Possibilities book, correct?
Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective. Yeah. I usually have it behind me today. Yeah.
For sure. No,
awesome.
I definitely see. I see the link for the book here. I'll probably go buy it while I'm sitting at the computer.
Thanks. It's an audiobook too, if you want to hear me read it.
Oh, perfect. For sure.
Some people are into audiobooks. Some people would rather read. I like reading better, but
as a painter, I can listen and paint. And so
that's my sister. She runs and listens. And I'm like, I have to see the words. I'm visual.
I hear you. Cool. My fiance Vera is the same way. She needs the physical. She's got a little library downstairs, but she needs the physical.
I love that. Yeah, I love the book. Well, it was so nice meeting you. Thanks, Jason, and best of luck to you. And congratulations on making that leap and showing us what's possible.
Likewise. And thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a beautiful day.
Bye, everyone. Have a great week.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening. I hope you loved this episode. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, review, and share it. I hope you were truly inspired. And for a little more inspiration, don't forget to pick up my book, Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective: 8 Secrets to Serenity and Satisfaction in Your Life and Career. I can't wait to get you love in your life.